Greetings everybody, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering All Will Fall. If you would like to skip the game's overview or the setup of this series, please use YouTube chapters. All Will Fall is a post-apocalyptic city builder where every structure can collapse. Master a unique, physics-based 3D construction system, creating a sprawling vertical settlement on water, scavenging for resources, explore the ocean, and ensure the survival of your colony by making difficult yet necessary decisions. This will be a mix of Let's Play and tutorial, and will air on YouTube. And additionally, I am not going to be leaving up the same amount of voting to you guys like I normally do, because in my anecdotal experience, there's a lot of like, if you choose this option, you are screwed, requiring save-scumming or starting over. And it's also worth saying that this is an open beta or demo version of the game, so it's not in its final state, and that's what that whole like news over there is about, that changes will come before the full release. So let's jump into it. And as you can see, there is a lot of scenarios that are locked. There's also the custom scenario that is not an option here. Normally there'd be a custom scenario. And we're going to jump straight into a cutscene, so bye! A short cutscene, to be fair. Alright, getting started. Click on this title to get more information. If you need information about how something works, you can always click the event on the title of the top left of the screen, or open old events from your event log, which is down in the bottom left. Next step, WASD. Q and E changes the height, and right mouse rotates. And then after that, we are going to assign people to the gathering hut. 4 to be precise. So we start off on this little top of a skyscraper, concrete prefab type of thing. And as you can see, this is what is going on the map tile. The map is not procedurally generated. I don't know if they're going to have procedurally generated maps in the future. But when you play the demo, this is the map you get. Opfer and Kilgore, thank you so very much for all the gifted subs. Cheers. So, assigning 4 people to the gathering hut. We start off with 8 people, and 4 of them are engineers, 4 of them are workers. I'm just going to assign 4 workers to the gathering hut. Now, the way this works is the gatherers during the workday, and you can see the time of day up here in the top right, is 6 a.m. work time, and 11 p.m. leisure time, and 4 a.m. time to sleep. Yeah, somehow they only sleep 2 hours a day. I don't know, don't ask. But I know how that'd be. They get to work, and they collect resources, and then return it to the storage stockpile. That last part's kind of important, because they aren't gathering, they're heading to this large pile of wood, which has 100 wood in it, but then they have to return the wood to a storage place. All right, the next step is to build a wooden staircase. So I'm going to open up the build path here and build a wooden staircase, and we want to collect water with that. So I can put a staircase up to this water up here and start to gather water as well. They must all have coffee hats? They must. Whatever they're on, I want some. You think the boat's parked wrong? I don't think it was parked. I think it was crashed. Alright, so we need to gather water, and I'm going to raise the priority of the water. Later on in the tutorial, it tells you how to raise priorities of things, but I'm just going to do it now so that we can get through the tutorial more quickly, more rapidly. And then once we're fully through the tutorial, I'll cover any of the elements that aren't covered in the tutorial, so you have a more of a full tutorial experience. Alright, reaching new places. Build a wooden support block, 6 of them, to reach the food. So the food is over here. It's this pallet of food, pile of wood, food. And we are going to build support blocks. And support blocks, this is like a 1 unit. You can think of it as like a meter. And you can drag to build things. And your wood is up here, so I have 26 wood, and we're just going to drag this over there to gain access to it. Now here is the important part. Stability. The stability calculations I've found to be like super wonky weird, but there is an overlay element where you can see stability that I'll have access to later on. But basically, as long as it's standing, it's stable. So the stability of this block is 0 according to the game, but that isn't necessarily an issue. That happens a lot. It's probably a bug that they need to work out. All right, so the next thing they want me to do is increase gathering priority. So there's two ways of doing this. You can go to the actual thing that you're trying to gather. So in this case, a pile of water bottles or the pile of pallet wood. Or you can go to the priority marker here and go up to the highest priority and then mark down the food as highest priority. So basically what I'm saying is the food comes first, then the water and the wood. So if you wanted to have a more stable bridge, you could try to build it like piece by piece. But even then, I've found that like stability still renders 0. And you do get full refunds on destroying stuff. So this experimental bridge didn't waste any wood. All right, next task is a different path for different jobs. So it wants me to collect junk. There is junk here, and there is junk here. There's also junk over there. So there's 3 different piles of junk that I could get. One of the easiest to get will be the one up here. Working in shallow water is potentially hazardous. You can get washed away. I haven't, again, anecdotally managed to get washed away very often. I haven't lost people that way, but it is, the game does alert you that it is possible. So it's worth noting. Now, the other thing about this wooden ladder here, there is a movement speed penalty of minus 50% using a ladder system like this. So if you can afford it, it is often better to go with staircases, which don't incur the same movement speed penalties. And these staircases are not very stable, but I can stick a block in the bottom to raise the stability. There we go. And now we're collecting the junk. And these staircases don't have movement speed penalties, so we collect the junk quick. And of course, if I wanted it even more stable, I could add even more support blocks. That's always an option as well. Cheers. Where's our Kevin Costner? Well, I don't have web feet, but for this stream, I can be your Kevin Costner. So we're collecting 20 junk, and because the tutorial wants us to collect junk more than, well, there we go. There was the reaches new places food. So now we'll focus on the junk to complete the junk, the junk priority. I'm a better actor? Oh, I'm not an actor. So either that's saying a lot about me or not a lot about him. But cheers and thank you. Alright, let's get junking, you little junk rats. Alright, there we go. So, the next step, build a small lab. And I'm going to build this in a kind of different way than the tutorial calls for. So there is a pallet of wood back here. And what I want to do is I want to build a little bridge over to the pallet of wood. Really early on, wood is very much your lifeblood. And not having access to wood limits your ability to expand. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my lab, which is your research building, here. I know that's a little weird, but it is supported, right? It is sitting on some concrete. So the stability of this small lab is fine. Basically, I'm putting the lab here. The path is still intact to get to the wood. And then the door to get to the lab is still accessible. Actually, no, I lied. So if you ever want to move a building, you can click on it and rotate it for free. All right, there we go. So we have our lovely lab. It has a top door and a bottom door. So you can also, I guess, use this as a staircase, although I wouldn't. And here is a choice. And I said in the intro, I'm not going to have you guys make any choices that I think would potentially derail the run. But these choices are fine. So here's the choice, and I'll probably move the overlay so that you can see it a little bit better. Oh, that's not where that should be. Over. There we go. So, since we can research new buildings, what would be good? Food, a wood gatherer, or who the hell cares? And the who the hell cares is a water boiler. A water boiler is a way to burn wood to get water, I guess. And have you choose that real quick. And ultimately, all of these options are researchable. So it's not like if you choose one, I won't be able to get the others, which is why this is a semi-non-consequential choice. And it looks like we're going to go with fishing. So going into the lab here, I'm going to assign 2 engineers. Now, this is the first work facility that has a specific type of person required. There are 3 types of citizens. There are workers, there are sailors, and there's engineers. And sailors, for instance, are the only ones that can work on boats. Engineers are the only ones that can work in a lab. And we are going to research fishing hut. And a fishing hut allows you to, well, fish. The whole world seems to be ocean, so fishing is one obvious way to get your nutrients. And what happens here is my engineers are grabbing wood, bringing it into the lab, consuming the wood, and producing research. So the research process requires a certain resource input. Now that we have collected the junk from up here, I can get rid of that ladder. I don't really need it anymore. It's not getting me anywhere that I need to go. And I can also build a staircase down to this junk, too, to gain access to more junk. And there's also wood back here as well that I could do the same with. Next part of the tutorial, let's use explosives. There's a quick way we could reach other resources and areas, explosives. So the initial explosives you get are something called weak explosives. Basically, they're not very effective. And what they do is you end up blowing up sections of terrain blockers, like rubble, to gain access to other things. So we're going to try to gain access to this event box over here. And the explosives require 5 junk. So here it is. And I'll probably wait for Paige here to not be next to it before I blow it up, because I would hate to be the person that invents murder for our settlement. Time control. You can change the time. That's in the top right. So you have 1 speed, 2 speed, 8 speed. And we have just researched fishing huts. So now the tutorial wants us to build one. Now here's the thing. On the map, you will have certain areas that have schools of fish. So there's like a school of fish here. And a school of fish here. And fishing over the ocean without a school of fish is like 3 food per work. Fishing over a school is 10 food. It is so much more efficient to be fishing where the schools of fish are, that until you get like fishing trawlers, it is definitely worth moving around your fishing stations as often as you can manage in order to try to maximize the input. And the fishing requires clearance. Clearance meaning it needs access to water. So the fishing station would not work, obviously, if it's not hanging off the side of your home into the water. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to put the fishing somewhere over here. I'm going to create a platform to hang the fishing off the side so it gains access to the school. And then additionally, we're going to need to physically be able to get to the fishing station. So I'm going to create a bridge over there. Done. So the fishing schools move. It's not so much that they move, it's that they exhaust. So over time, new fishing spots will be created, and then the ones you use up will be gone. So they're finite. And a fishing trawler, a fishing boat, will obviously seek out those schools, so you don't have to keep moving your fishing huts, but your fishing huts should move to match the fishing spot if you can manage it. And then to top here, I have 30 water using 7 a day and 28 food using 7 a day. On top of that, I have 2 unemployed engineers who are now going to be working in the fishing hut, raking in the food. All right. I would very much like junk. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hold off on the junk right now. I am going to say the highest priority right now is going to be gathering large piles of wood, because I know what the tutorial wants me to do next. So it is 23 o'clock, which means it is leisure time. Everyone is going to be going to sleep. And as a result, we need houses to rest. So my next priority here is to build houses to rest. And what I'm going to be doing is, and it's going to look a little weird, but I'm going to hang these buildings off this edge of the map tile to take as little footprint as possible. And I can blow up one of the terrain blockers. Of course, there's still the other terrain blocker that is over there as well. And these are really crummy starting shacks. I mean, nobody really wants to sleep in them. And then additionally, we can deconstruct our old crash boat for resources, which I will do as well. So this thing has 15 junk, 20 wood in it. The game says, like, oh, you know, don't worry, there's plenty of other boats in the sea. You'll know what to do with it when the time is right. I haven't really found that there's much else to do with it other than deconstruct it. So in this case, I'm just choosing to deconstruct it because I think it's in the way otherwise. And we have 2 remaining shacks to put up. Each shack can house 2 people. And we have 8 people, so 4 shacks covers what we need. So these guys will build the 2 remaining shacks and then get to sleep. Ta-da! Now, as far as stability goes, these are stable objects. I know they're hanging off the edge, but they don't lack for stability in this configuration, and they take up the least amount of floor space. One thing I will say is a lot of the structure that you start with, this concrete square or rectangle, this like concrete L with some metal, and this, they're the most stable structures in the game. And basing your city off of them is going to be wise. Because as soon as you start building elsewhere might fall. And technically these can fall. The likelihood of them falling is pretty low because they're supported by multiple supports. So you would have to lose a significant amount of supports. Basically, you would have to significantly neglect them in order for them to collapse. All right, look, people. A barely intact boat approaches your city. So I can say, great, but they have to share their supplies. So this would give me 4 sailors, which I currently have 0. Junk and food. I can also say, together we will survive. They join, they keep their stuff, we gain loyalty. Or as long as they listen to me, they can stay, which gives influence. So let me talk about loyalty and influence a little bit, because they're very important. Loyalty is essentially happiness. Keeping your population happy will give you the opportunity to unlock special actions. So you might have events that are hard to overcome, but if you have like engineers that are at least 20 happy, you have an alternative method to overcome that sort of challenge. So, and then influence is up here, and influence is your way to pass laws or overrule the will of the collective, things like that. So here's my 2 cents about this. Influence you can gain every day later on in the game with different methods. Loyalty is very hard to come by. Loyalty here is important because it makes your people happier and more productive and able to deal with harsher events and the like. So in almost every scenario, I go with loyalty, which is why I'm sort of taking the pulling out of your hands, because if you don't focus significantly on loyalty, the problem is it's very challenging to raise your loyalty. So not choosing to go a loyal path early on makes the game, it can make the game impossibly difficult. So I'm going to say together we will survive. It's also worth noting that for 15 junk and 20 wood, if I could spend 15 junk and 20 wood to gain +1 loyalty, that would be an incredible deal. So even if loyalty was easier to come by, that's a very small price to pay. So now as a result, we have 4 sailors. So now we're a population of 12, 4, 4, and 4. And I am going to put some additional houses. And of course, this pile of wood will be depleted sooner or later. So I'm going to be laying this out, ignoring the fact that there's a pile of wood right there. I know it blocks the door, but I don't care. All right, everyone has a suggestion. So this is one such suggestion, or one such poll that I want to take out of your hands. So it's essentially saying there's different ways to clear the rubble. Workers can work in a demolition hut, engineers can work on the cranes, and sailors can work on the boats. And I have a personal preference, which is to say I would very much like the demolition hut. The boats are great, but I find the boats only operate in the ocean, obviously. So the rubble that is on land or on above the water level cannot be collected by boats. And generally speaking, you want to free up the area that you can build upon, which means the demolition huts that the workers can work in, I find to be the most useful. Now, with that said, in order to unlock this tech, I do need more wood. I'm out of wood. I think what I'll do is I'll just temporarily put these houses where they can access them, and then I'll put them back where I want them later on. Or I can offset it like this. There. That'll work. Given the lack of land, wood would seem a precious resource. You would think, but with that said, if you get a wood catcher, you just sort of collect wood from the water in the same way that it works in like Raft. So it's actually not difficult to come by a pretty decent amount of wood. I also unlocked some more support buildings. So this is a 2x2, and these are like arches for supports that we can employ. And what workplace are they complaining about? The Gatherer's Hut. Oh, yeah, I see. There we go. Can I place this one on the edge? If I put a block like that, yeah. There we go. Once I get the wood, I'll build the last house that we need. We do still have a little bit of homelessness. So another thing I wanted to do is the food storage that I have here. I'm going to move over next to the fishing hut that's over here. It does mean that everyone will have to walk over to the food storage when they want to get food, but that's going to make it easier for us to rake in more food. Fihi and Omri, thank you for the resubs. All right, here's the last shack. And then the game wants me to set up another gathering hut. So I'll do that just to satisfy the tutorial, although I very rarely find the need for more than just like 4 gatherers. All right, I did research the Demolition Hut, and the Demolition Hut allows you to break down rubble. So I'm going to build the Demolition Hut over here. And that's going to allow us to break all of this like weird rubble around and turn this rubble into wood, which is very handy. At the moment, I don't really need any research, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to employ my sailors and engineers. Actually, I have 4 sailors. I'll employ my sailors as gatherers, put my engineers back into research. So, we did get the fishing hut. Let's go ahead and get the water boiler next, because it's going to be important for us to have a renewable source of water, as we're down 9 a day, and we only have about 2 days worth of water. So now that the demolition hut is built, I'm going to take 2 of the workers off the gathering hut, put in the demo hut. Gatherers only gather from these like piles. So pile of wood, pile of water bottles, pile of food. The rubble is a demolition job, or a sailor's job, or a crane job. And the demolition, here's the demolition hut. And we can use the mark tool, and I'm going to mark it as low priority. The mark tool to mark down all of the rubble that we want them to clear. Now, because you can move objects and buildings freely, you pretty much only want to be working directly around where the hut is. And then, if possible, also set yourself up with a like a storage supply next to the demo hut. So your demolitionists that are scrapping things don't have long commutes, in other words. So everyone has a suggestion, and we're going to say workers can clear the rubble as a result, because now that we have a demo hut, and that raises worker loyalty by 2. So up here, work loyalty or happiness, they're kind of one and the same. I don't know why they use different terms. Workers are 7, sailors and engineers are 5. And as you can see, as you gain happiness, workers will gain a carry capacity at 8. I will gain influence per person in this group when they reach 15. I will gain the ability to change the leader type at 20. And then workplace efficiency at 30. And some are locked in the demo. And all of the classes have similar sort of loyalty bonuses. Your choices have consequences. Hey, Captain, I understand that you're trying to survive, and you are also new to this, so people are more forgiving right now. But next time, think about your choices. Some decisions can have negative impact on the loyalty of a certain social group. You can find other ways to make them happy. Just keep this in mind. You can find loyalty and other needs by pressing on the social tab at the top middle of the screen. So, I can say under my leadership, everyone will be heard. I think I will gain more by focusing on just one group, or, well, like I care. Question is, should I focus on one group or try to keep them all happy? Have you ultimately choose this tiny little poll? Oh, interestingly, because this is a higher priority, hold on. Don't dig through this. My demolishers were digging here, which is not where I wanted them working. Low tide has revealed new resources. A low tide has decreased the water level and temporarily revealed new areas with potential resources. But we must hurry. The water will rise again after some time, and anyone who stays below it will be washed away. Pay attention to the weather bar, which is in the top right. So, here is low tide, and as a result of low tide, you can see that the debris and wood pallet is revealed. We've got a lot of junk around here. We've got water bottles. And if you ever wanted to slice through the world, there's the slice tool on the right here. So if I wanted to find like the water bottles, I could also just slice through the ground to find the resources that have been revealed more easily. All right, and we're going to try to focus on everybody. Got it. So we are currently researching the water boiler, and it's going to be done relatively soon. And then we'll be able to have a renewable source of water. And really what you want is like water, food, junk, and wood fairly early on. Those are the important ones. Without water, food, junk, and wood, you're going to stagnate hard. Once my current gatherers are out of things to gather, I'm going to open up paths to get to the water bottles, the wood, the junk, etc. If you ever click on it, so clicking on this pile of food, for instance, you can actually see the specific gatherers that are tasked to actually collect from there. So I have 2 gatherers that are collecting from here right now. And I've got 2 gatherers collecting from this pile of junk. And then once we exhaust this pile of junk, it will actually open up a valid path to this large pile of wood. Because this pile of junk is physically blocking the bottom of the stairs. And what you want to be doing is constantly planning on where your gatherers are going next so that they're not idle. This is something... Oops, I didn't mean to put it there. This is something I didn't do a very good job of in some of the playtesting that I had. And I had a lot of idle gatherers, and then I had a lot of really high needs because I wasn't gathering efficiently. Now, there is an argument to be said that during low tide, you should prioritize the resources that are the lowest that you will lose access to. And normally I would agree with that, but really early on, it's more important to be gathering the stuff that's really close to you for efficiency's sake than it is to be going after only the stuff that is going to be available, you know, during low tide. So here's the water boiler, and we'll get that built. And then the next research, so we have the water boiler, we have the fishing hut. I would like to unlock deconstruct walls for wood. So it enables the wood gathering huts and boats to deconstruct some environment walls for wood. It's one way to get a lot more bang for your buck resource-wise. And in order to unlock this, I'm going to need more junk than I currently have. Which is to say, it would be in my benefit to gain access to this junk pile. Because I'm not going to be able to make progress without more junk. There we go. This junk pile is now accessible. If you're wondering why I'm using the 1 tile stairs, the 1 tile stairs cost 2 wood. The 2 tile stairs come in with a built-in support, which is why it costs 6. So these are technically more stable, but as long as it's stable enough to use, anything above a stability where it collapses is fine. And the game warns you, let me do a quick save, but the game warns you when you're going to collapse something. So there we go. If I deleted that segment, the whole bridge would collapse, right? Anything that I mouse over here that would collapse if deleted gets highlighted in that sort of like hazard color. So I could delete this bridge, no problem. But, you know, this one would collapse that, obviously. So the game does a really good job of warning you that, like, you don't have high enough stability. Be careful, because if you build in this configuration, things will collapse. Boilers and pollution. The wood boiler is a polluter. Building such buildings near houses decrease the maximum quality. So nobody wants to live near a water boiler, so keeping them separate is important. So the housing quality right now is 0 out of 10. If the water boiler, if this thing was too close, it's now a max of 8. I mean, it's still 0 out of 8, so it really doesn't make any difference unless you're pushing max values, but still, it's good to keep your polluters away from your houses. So here's our demo team demoing this wall here. I think what I want to do is, because I am interested in my demo team getting through these stuff, I'm going to stick this as the highest possible priority so we can open up this entire platform. By default, everything is marked as medium, so if you want something done, marking as high will ensure that it is done sooner. And the other thing is, I could start burning wood for my water supply, but there is a large pile of water bottles right here, which I think I'm going to tap instead of starting to use the wood burner, because the wood burner, of course, has the unfortunate side effect of, well, you do generate water, you process wood in the in the meantime. And at the moment, I don't actually have a means to build or to gather wood passively, like a wood catcher. So I'm going to want to avoid using the wood boiler for water unless I absolutely need it. But it is very nice to have. Does the load time depth vary? Yes, a lot. Generally speaking, it leans towards more of the map being revealed the longer you play. So now these two are open. And the other thing I can do is go to my storage facility and drop another storage rack for raw resources right in front of the demolition hut. Because these racks do have a finite capacity of 200, and it's very possible to fill it up. So having an extra storage rack that always follows around the demo hut is going to have the demolitionists work faster and also make sure that you're less likely to hit your total max capacity. Because, for instance, I'm already like a third of my maximum food, but there's only like 6 days left of fishing for this fishing spot, or even less than that, because there's only 60 fish. The next thing the tutorial wants me to do is place fireplaces. So fireplaces is leisure. If you take a look at like any one group, they have housing quality, loyalty, leisure, water allowance, food allowance, and goods allowance. Goods would be like luxury goods. As you fill these up, it affects their total happiness. So offering your people leisure activities like hanging around a fireplace is beneficial for their morale. So there's 2 fireplaces. So during off hours, people can congregate around these fireplaces, and these, of course, are polluters as well, but they don't have an upkeep of burning wood. But people will congregate around here and chat, and that's a leisure activity for them. Now, I know that this has been here. I've been kind of ignoring it for now because I have other pressing things to do. But once this demo team gets through these walls, I'll bother with that. Oh, drifting wood. So here's an option. Our base has been hit by some drifting wood. I can say great news or morons don't let it go. The morons don't let it go will cost me 10 influence, but I'll get more wood out of it. Now, because I'm not really hurting for wood right now, I have 80. I'm going to say great news. I'd rather not use my influence in this way. Looking at my current resources, I would say junk is probably my lowest held resource that I probably want to focus on. There was a junk pile down here, so let's see about exploiting this junk. Thank you for tuning in to All Will Fall. which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow settlement builders.